Hey everyone, welcome to this week's Forex Forecast. We will be going over all the important supply and demand zones to help you with your trading this week. The past week, the banks got rid of 2,700 longs and they added 175 shorts as we look at the COT report for the DXY. Now, if you look at the daily chart here, something significant has taken place. If you guys have been watching my forecast for a while now, we've been talking about this supply area on the DXY and how we were expecting to see a move off of it, and we kind of did. We kind of wicked out of it for a bit, but ultimately we ended up blowing right through. But there still is daily supply above at 103, so we definitely need to be cautious of that supply. And now we actually are left with a demand zone at 101.961 on the daily chart here, looking at the DXY. So we could kind of see something like this play out on the daily chart where we come off of daily demand, go to daily supply, go back down to daily demand, something like that. But one thing I know for sure is this daily chart should be the chart that you look at to decide which direction you should be trading the dollar. So as long as this demand zone is in control, we could be looking for those day trading longs on the DXY. And what makes me nervous about that is the fact that the overall trend and momentum is in fact down. So yes, this momentum we've seen on the DXY as of late, it could be coming to an end. Yes, it's been that way for about half a month now, but it definitely could be coming to an end as we approach the top of this trend. Now, if this takes place, where we not only remove the downward trend line, but also a supply zone, that'll be a very, very significant event that takes place here in the DXY. Now, yes, we have removed one supply zone, but I still think this supply zone is much better. And not only that, the downward trend line has been respected. We have not removed that downward trend line. So if we can get a reaction off this demand like this, remove that supply, that'll be a very, very bullish sign for the DXY. But in the meantime, if we do react off this demand and react off supply, we could still look for shorts in the DXY as we contact this supply at 103. But at the same time, we could also be looking for day trading longs as long as this daily demand is in control. And let's say this demand, we break this demand, and we're left with new daily supply. At that point, I think that's a clear indication that, I think the overall downtrend is going to continue on the DXY here. So if we do pull up to the supply that removed the demand, this would be a good shorting opportunity on the DXY. So as far as shorts, we could be waiting for this supply zone to be contacted or waiting for this demand zone to be removed to get new daily supply where we can look for shorts in like that. And then for day trading longs, I think right now, for day trading shorts, I would wait. But for day trading longs, we are inside that daily demand, and we could see the dollar kind of react to the upside here. On to the forecast for the Euro-US dollar. The past week, the banks got rid of 10,573 longs, and they also got rid of 5,400 shorts. Looking at the daily chart here, on the daily chart of the Euro, we actually did remove the upward trend line here. It is obviously the inverse of the DXY, but it's not always exactly the same. So we did remove this demand. This demand is still valid essentially at 1.09. So same idea. We could be looking for longs in here on day trading timeframes or swing trading timeframes like a 1 hour chart. I think it's fine. So if price does contact this demand zone on the daily chart, I think we could be looking for longs. Now, something significant has happened as well, where we did remove this upward trend line, but to me, it's kind of looking like it was maybe just a fake out. Now, whether or not we pull back down on this demand and then rally up, or maybe we just rally up from here, who knows? It's also possible that we do continue to push down. But as far as the euro goes right now, how do we actually go about trading this pair? Well, one thing for sure is that we did get some sort of 4 hour confirmation here. We are left with 4 hour demand that is located at 1.096. Now, the problem with this 4 hour demand is it's not inside of a daily demand zone or a weekly demand zone. So this zone is kind of, I know a lot of you guys don't understand supply and demand fully, but right now this zone is essentially kind of just in the middle of nowhere, if that makes any sense. So the location of the zone is really not the best on the 4 hour chart here. So what I would recommend doing instead is, if we do push down to this 4 hour demand right here, to look for extra confirmation. So what that means is to go down to a 15 or a 5-minute time frame once this demand zone is hit, and then look for new demand zones to be formed along the way up that we can potentially get in long at for confirmation. If you want to learn more about confirmation, I have videos on my YouTube channel. If you want more in-depth videos on that, I do have confirmation video lessons in the Video Lessons A to Z in the Diamond membership. So check that out. Links in the description down below. So as far as the euro goes, we didn't quite remove this downward trend line in the 4 hour chart, but we are left with demand. That's why I'm saying extra confirmation on day trading timeframes would be needed to make this zone valid on the euro. And as far as shorts go on the euro, we would need to see something like this take place where we remove this demand. And if we are left with 4-hour supply, that would be your area to short at if this scenario takes place. On to the forecast for gold. The past week, the banks got rid of 9,244 long positions, and they also got rid of 529 short positions. Now, I'm not sure if this downward pressure we've seen in gold, if that's going to be what takes price down to 1870, looking at the weekly chart. I still hope that takes place. As far as long-term profit for shorts, we definitely have profit margin down to 1870, like I just pointed out here on the weekly chart. Daily chart, we did remove some sort of demand here. We do have some sort of demand right here as well. That's kind of, I think, why we're seeing price push up, but it's really not the best demand. So how do we actually go about trading gold? Well, if you look at a 4-hour chart here, we do have some sort of 4-hour supply zone forming right here. Now, I don't really go down to lower time frames like a 50-minute or a 5-minute chart on these weekly Forex forecasts. That is where I stick. I stick to that in the daily market breakdown videos for the Dime members. But at the end of the day, we have 4-hour supply and control with an overall trend to the downside with profit margin to at least 1912, I would say. And then, like I said, the long-term target to be like 1870. So with the supply and control downtrend, I think it's shorts all the way on day trading timeframes. I'm really not seeing any potential to swing trade gold right now based on trends and how I see the market. So with the 4-hour downtrend, it doesn't mean we just want to be shorting a 4-hour zone with a short entry here, stop, and take profit, because the zone's very, very large. That's why we want to play this downtrend, but on a lower time frame. So if you go down to a 15-minute or a 5-minute chart right here, you could be looking for supply zones to trade to the short side. As long as this supply at 1945 is in play on the 4-hour chart here in gold, I think shorts are completely fine. Now, let's say price pushes up, you lose a trade, or we don't even get the 50-minute confirmation, something like this takes place where we remove supply. At that point, we need to hold off on trading gold, because what that signifies is an overall change of direction here with the overall 4-hour downtrend. Forecast for the USDJPY. The past week, the banks got rid of 2,045 longs, and they also got rid of 3,509 short positions. I'll keep this one as simple as possible. The daily chart here, the overall momentum is up, but if you just look right here, we are clearly going sideways. So trading the USD yen in a swing trading perspective right now isn't the easiest thing to do. So if you have taken some losses on it, don't get discouraged. It's all good. But as far as USD yen goes now, I think we are probably, I'm just based on what I'm seeing in the daily chart, I think we could be headed down to about 140.23 down to this daily area demand. So how do we potentially trade the USD yen on the lower time frames? Well, if we look at a 1-hour chart here, we have two significant zones. We have a 1-hour supply located at 143.46. We have a 1-hour demand located at 141.07. So if you think the USDN is going to pull back down to that daily demand I was just pointing out, you could wait for shorts off of this 1-hour supply like that. You could just wait for the supply zone to be hit, because this is a very significant supply zone. We had a very nice upward trend, demand zone right here, and not only did we remove the upward trend line, but we also removed demand, which left us with the supply. So this is a decent little zone here. So I think if we do pull back up to this 1-hour supply, that would be your zone to get this potential short trade off of. Now, if you think we are going to, continue to go up, well, what I would do is just wait for this daily demand zone to be hit and then look for longs. So in my opinion, longs are probably off the table right now. You could look for longs, but just looking at the 1-hour chart, yes, I mean, this is a decent pullback for a long entry. This is a decent zone here at 141.075, but really we want to wait for that daily zone to be contacted first and then look for longs. So yeah, we have gotten the pullback for long entries, but with the momentum being down and a demand zone in sight that we could easily pull back into on the daily chart, I think we're probably headed lower here on the USDN. So we either want to wait for this supply zone to be contacted to look for day trading shorts, or if we get a new supply zone form right here, you could potentially look for shorts in the USD yen as well. GBPUSD forecast. The past week, the banks got rid of 13,323 long positions, and they also got rid of 3,890 short positions. Looking at the daily chart here, we are definitely more close to demand right now than to supply. But that doesn't mean we just want to be hopping in long just for that reason alone. But I just want to show you guys that we do have profit margin not only to the upside, but to the downside. So what do we do in a situation like this? Well, we have to look at a weekly chart to get a better idea of what's taking place. What I am seeing is overall momentum being up, and we are reacting off a supply zone I've had for a while now, and we are pushing down. The question is, are we going to push down to this demand at 1.25 or not? And to be honest with you guys, that is a very, very difficult question to answer, but it doesn't mean that we cannot trade. So looking at this chart right now on the 4-hour chart on the GBPUSD, the indication here is that we have, the downward trend right here, indicated by that downward arrow. And we are into a 4-hour supply zone. So how do we trade it? Well, right now we are seeing a red candle right here. So what that means is we are probably seeing reacting to supply zones on the lower time frames. So what you could be doing is looking for that confirmation trade. And if not, and let's say the zone blows through, we actually have another supply zone at 1.28 just above. And the thing about that is you kind of want to be looking for confirmation on day trading timeframes, but with profit margin to the downside on the weekly chart, I think it's fine to actually be just trading short these supply zones, especially with such a significant trend being in play here on the GBPUSD. But obviously confirmation is always going to be the safest bet. If you guys want access to my confirmation zones daily in the daily market breakdown, check out the Diamond membership that I pointed out before. Something that is included is the daily market breakdown where I record 10 to 12 minute video, sometimes less, of my watch list where I point out all these zones on a daily basis for you guys to point out. I will go down to lower time frames like a 15-minute or a 5-minute chart and point out the exact confirmation zone that we could be using for trading. So if you're interested in that, check it out. Links in the description down below to the Diamond membership. As far as the pound goes now, as long as we have this downward trend line in play and these two supply zones being in play, we could be looking for shorts here in the pound. USDCAD forecast. So past week, the banks got rid of 7,316 longs, and they also got rid of 6,481 short positions. I will keep this one simple and sweet. On the weekly chart here, weekly demand is in control on the USDCAD. I've been pointing to this weekly demand for so long, since all the way back here, back in 2022. And with the weekly demand in control, that means that we want to be looking for longs, as simple as that. Now on the daily chart, for the second time, we already had daily confirmation down here. Unfortunately, we blew right through, but with that being said, we have new daily demand being formed, or sorry, it is already formed at 1.32. And this daily demand zone is much better in my opinion. Not only did we remove supply, but we also removed a downward trend line. So if we do get a pullback down to this daily demand zone, this would be a great time to look for potential longs on day trading timeframes and swing trading timeframes. So I'm personally holding off. I don't like to trade, when I see a demand zone like this, for example, on the USDCAD, and the weekly demand is in control. I just know based on my experience that we need to be favoring longs. I just wait. I just wait for the zone. I wait for the pullback and look for longs like that. Now, that doesn't mean you can't catch the down move. I personally don't catch those, but if you do, let's go take a look at what would need to take place before I would even consider, doing that. And looking at the 1-hour chart here, I can already tell you guys it's not super easy to do. If we ignore this wick and we draw this trend line like this, I know it didn't really make a new high, but if we do that here, what I would need to see to even consider getting in short on day trading timeframes to trade the retracement down to the daily demand, it would have to be something like this, where not only did we remove the upward trend line, but we also removed this demand zone right here, and something like that were to take place. So that would be the only time I would consider shorting the USDCAD, because as far as I know, looking at the daily chart, the 1-hour trend is still looking pretty strong. This thing is looking like it just wants to continue to go up. Obviously, we don't know when it's going to turn around, but once we start to see the evidence on the lower time frames like the 1-hour chart, then at that point you could day trade short down to this demand zone and then take profits at the demand and then automatically switch to a long bias there. So that's my plan. My plan personally is to just wait for the demand zone to be hit and look for longs. But there are some potential opportunities coming up where we could day trade down to that daily demand zone on the USDCAD. All right, on to the Aussie US dollar. The past week, the banks added 7,500 longs and they also added 8,095 shorts. Really simple here on the daily chart on the Aussie US dollar. We are finally into my purple demand zone that I've been pointing out since all the way back here, located at 0.651. Now we have already seen a bullish move off this demand zone, but it doesn't mean that there's no trades there or any trades that we can hop on. And right away, I'll show you the profit margin. Minimum is up to this supply on the daily chart at about 0.666. And that is where I would be looking to take profits, at least temporarily, or sorry, not temporarily, but as far as like your midterm target, that's what I'd be looking for. On the 1 hour chart, we do have a few 1 hour zones here that we could see work for potential long trades like that, or this one down here, but really not the best zones. But what I would be looking for the ultimate confirmation on the 1 hour chart would be something like this, where we remove not only the downward trend line, but also supply. So if we get something like this, we are left with 1 hour demand here. That would be your potential trade like that. Or if you want to take it a little bit slower on the 4 hour chart, what we could be looking for here is something to take place. Hopefully this basing is forming a demand zone base for something like this to take place, where we have 4 hour demand here. And if we pull back into the 4 hour demand zone, that would be where you'd be looking for longs in. So that is what I'm waiting for here. Really, yeah, we are into the daily demand, but there's no real sign yet that we are going to be pulling up off that demand. Yes, we have seen the move from 0.652 all the way up to like 0.66. We have seen this move, but we haven't seen that bigger move, the pull back down into a demand zone yet, and then that move yet. So we haven't really seen the strong move happen yet, but we are into some demand, so we have to remember that and be waiting for this confirmation long by removing the downward trend line here on the 4 hour chart. Onto the forecast for the USDCHF. The past week, the banks got rid of 189 longs and they got rid of 505 shorts. I will be very, very clear on the USD Swiss here. We had a classic example of a 1 hour trade here, where we had the upward trend line, 1 hour supply, reaction of the 1 hour supply to the downside. Boom, 3-1 trade worked out beautifully. As far as it goes now, yeah, we have a 1 hour downtrend, so we could be day trading shorts here. So if you want, be looking for 5-minute, 15-minute trades to the downside. So wait for your 5-minute or 15-minute supply zones to be formed to the downside, and then look for potential shorts. Because as long as we have this downward trend line on the 1 hour chart on the USD Swiss here, all things are pointing to the downside. Unfortunately, I don't have any demand zone, or I don't have any zones for me to point out for you guys that we could potentially look for trades off of, because it's already taken place, and that's just the reality of trading. I was kind of hoping we could get a pullback up to weekly supply at 0.89. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like that we're going to get that. So maybe the overall downtrend here on the USD Swiss is going to continue, especially since we've not only seen a reaction off of 1 hour supply, but we also have a 1 hour downtrend right now as well. So as far as the USD Swiss goes right now, really no clear zones for me to point out, but we do have a 1 hour downtrend, so day trading shorts are definitely on the table right now. Last but not least, we're on to crude oil. The past week, the banks added 13,219 longs, and they got rid of 3,444 shorts. I will keep it simple as well here in oil. We have profit margin to 87.25 here before I would even consider, holding off on longs. Yeah, we are at some kind of high right now, but the momentum is so strong that I think looking for longs is still the right thing to be doing. 4 hour chart here, very, very strong trend. It's longs all the way here. I'm pretty much going to ignore this area, but as long as this trend line is in play, we got to be looking for longs on 5-minute charts, 15-minute charts, 1-minute charts, all the way. Longs 100%. If we get a pullback down to this 4 hour demand here, it could be an area where you treat this as a pretty deep pullback down to the zone at 79.771. You could be looking for longs down there. If not, we also have little 1 hour zone right here as well. We could be looking for longs in at 80.61. Also, it's possible we don't even pull back down to there. So if we do get something like this to take place, where we remove this supply in the 1 hour chart, you can be looking for longs coming off that 1 hour demand like that on crude oil. So as far as crude oil goes, it's got to be longs all the way. The trends are just way too strong, especially on the 4 hour and the 1 hour chart. Yeah, there's really no trend in the daily chart, so we could expect a deeper pullback and then a new high like that. It's definitely possible, but right now we have profit margin to $87 a barrel. So I think we need to continue to look for longs as long as the 4 hour and the 1 hour trend line is still in play. I hope you guys found this weekly Forex forecast helpful. If it did, I would really appreciate a like and a subscribe if you are new to the channel. And as always, check out the YouTube and Patreon membership if you want to get my daily chart analysis and much, much more.